guys, it is Luke from RetroRevival here, and today I'm going to be talking about my comic book collection, and this is basically just because a lot of really cool films have come out recently, and I have a lot of comic books relating to them, and yeah, I just love comic books because I'm a complete nerd, and I'm very happy to say that recently there's been a lot of people who are getting into comic book franchises, and yeah, I'm really happy about that. I'm happy that this small kind of thing has now become mainstream culture, which is pretty cool. But yeah, enough of me rambling on. It's time to get into the stuff you all want to see, which is my comic books. First up is a book from the Ultimate Graphic Novels collection by Marvel, and this is New X-Men Imperial, and I absolutely love this. It is brilliant. The X-Men are probably my favourite franchise when it comes to comic books, because they're just so fast, and yeah, it's just such a great universe, and this one is definitely worth a buy. I got this for £2.50 from a card boot, which you can't complain about that. I thought I was certain on there then, but no, it's just the art. Yeah, really good, and probably worth your buy, because, I mean, look at how cool this front picture is. Next up is another graphic novel collection, and that is the Warriors 3, and I think these three guys are never going to be in the MCU. I just think they're too obscure, but I've read this because I didn't know anything about the Warriors 3, and it's quite a cool story. I got this for £2.50 at the car boot as well. I really like it. It would be cool to see it in the MCU. I don't know how they do it though. Next up, we're actually getting into the proper comic books now, and this is Lando issue 1, and the day of this being recorded and it coming out, I will be seeing Solo, and Lando is in it, thank God, and he's being played by Donald Glover, and Donald Glover is just a brilliant actor, and I think he's going to do great things for the character of Lando. But I really like this. It goes back into Lando's backstory a bit more, and I think this is just a really cool cover. I do like comic books for their covers, and believe it or not, this was made by Marvel, and Marvel do all the Star Wars comics, so yeah. Next I'm going to go through my Spider-Man comics, and first up is The Amazing Spider-Man issue 2, and this is one of the 2 variant covers I have of Spider-Man. I do like this. It's quite weird, which is quite cool, and that's the reason I picked it up. The other one I have is quite a rare one, and this is The Amazing Spider-Man variant edition, issue 16, and my brother gave me this, and this is the pop vinyl version of Spider-Man, and I haven't read this yet. I do need to read it. It's quite new, and yeah, I need to read that. Next up is a really good mini-series, and this is Amazing Spider-Man Skin Deep. I haven't got part 1, I've got part 2, part 3, and part 4. And if you are looking to getting into comic books, this might be a good start. It's not very long, so it's quite easy to find these 3. The first one is fairly rare, the first issue. I would like to get that one day, but oh well, if I can't get it, I can't get it. But it's definitely one for you to get. It's probably the best mini-series I've read, so if you're into Spider-Man, you should get it. Next up is X-Men issue 104. I haven't read this. I got this in a bundle at a car boot. I get most of my comic books from car boots, and it says this was based on the movie, but it doesn't look like the movie. I can see that there's Wolverine down there, and I think that might be Gambit down below, but yeah, I haven't read this yet, so I can't really give you my opinion. Next up is my vast X Factor collection, and this is X Factor issue 67, and this is my favourite cover of all the X Factor ones. So that's 67, X Factor issue 68, X Factor issue 69, X Factor issue 70, and X Factor issue 84. And I really like the X Factor comics. They remind me of the X-Force ones, which I was very happy to see in Deadpool 2. And I'm going to say that this is the best one. I just love that cover. You've got the Beast, and of course, in the middle, you've got Cyclops, and I just think it looks brilliant. I love having this one. Also, there's another comic book with the X Factor in it, and this is Cloak and Dagger, and this is from 1988. And yeah, it's pretty old, but I really like this one. It's quite interesting, like the cover, because I don't really know much about a lot of the obscure characters, but you get to learn about them here. I picked this up. It's okay. If you're into really obscure characters, then you might like it, but yeah. Next up is my pride of joy when it comes to my comic book collection, and this is the Mighty Thor. And you may not know, but I absolutely love Thor. He's one of my favourite heroes there is. Probably in the top 3, along with Iron Man and Spider-Man. This is from 1985, so this is actually my oldest comic book. I love the cover, especially the bit with Thor at the top. I think that looks brilliant. And it's got Mjolnir. You can't really see it, but it's got Mjolnir down at the bottom. And I just love this comic book. It's brilliant. I found it for quite cheap, but yeah, I just love it. And next up is the Giant Size Thor finale. And I haven't read this, but I have had a flick through, and the art in this is pretty good. I'm trying to find a good page. I'll just have a flick through with the art. I don't want to give too much away, but oh, look at that. There's a Got Milk ad. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Thor. I really like him. Yeah. Before I go on to the next comic book series I've got, I just want to say that if you're going to get into reading comic books, get used to having a lot of ads, because there are a lot of ads. Next up is my Punisher comic book collection, and this is the Punisher Part 1, and this is from 1992, which is a decade before I was even born. But yeah, I think this is a pretty cool cover. It's really long. It's got 64 pages, which is long for a comic book. Believe it or not, the other Punisher comic book I have is quite long as well. And this is the Punisher 2099. And look at how that shows up on the camera. All the shimmering. And this is number 25, and it's a double-sized issue. The cover to this is brilliant. I love it. It's kind of how the feel is, and I think if you saw this in a shop, it'd stand out to you. So yeah. So going on from Marvel, I'm going to be going to DC. DC I don't really like, to be honest. I think the DC stands for definitely crap or something like that. But the first comic book is The Warlord, and nobody really knows about this comic book because it's not like Batman or anything. And this came out in January 1992. So it's a very old comic book, and you can tell it's old because of the pages. It feels like proper paper, whereas a lot of them are quite glossy nowadays. But yeah, I don't think the front cover is brilliant, but it definitely does look old. So yeah. Next up is Starman issue 44, and I really don't know anything about Starman or any of the characters because I'm a Marvel guy, not a DC guy. I think the front cover looks pretty cool. It's giving me kind of like an Asian vibe at the bottom, because I think it is set in Asia. But don't quote me on that, I don't know. But yeah. Next up is a DC comic book that I actually liked, and this is Robin, issue 44. And I really like this because it's quite quirky. He fights Killer Croc in it, and that's Killer Croc. Is just brilliant. It's really funny. It's good for kids as well. That's why I enjoy it, I think, because I'm still a big kid, but yeah. And there is another one that I like by DC, and this is Superman, Man of Steel, issue 56. And I like this dude on the front. He's really funny in this comic book. He's diving into that pile of gold like he's Scrooge McDuck. And yeah, this came out in 1996, and yeah, I actually really enjoy this one. It's quite fun. And up next is another comic book I've had for a long time, and I haven't read this, and this is Warrior, issue 21, and of course on the front there you've got Green Lantern. It's got quite a cool front cover. I think it's a bit too colourful for my liking. It's just a lot of ink just splashed on a page. Next up are some comic books that would be great for kids, and first up is Adventure Time Marceline, the Vampire Queen, and this has got a really cool style in it, because it's like all the different members of Adventure Time creating their own comic books, if that makes sense, for Marceline. It's pretty cool, and I really like this one. I've read it multiple times, and it's good. Next up is my favourite of all, and this is Adventure Time Volume 1. This has got a collection in it. This is a trade paperback, and I really like this. It's really fun. They fight the Lich, and if you're a fan of Adventure Time, you know who that is. It's the one in the middle. Yeah, I've read this multiple times. It never gets old, and I still need to get the other volumes, because I think I'd enjoyed them as much as I enjoyed this. From one comic book that would be great for kids to one that wouldn't, and this is Dethklok Metalocalypse. And if you don't know about the show that is called Metalocalypse, it's about a band, and yeah, they basically take over the world, and this is about their frozen food line, which is pretty weird for a comic book, and it basically makes everyone really crazy and vomit up blood and stuff. This isn't for kids. It's very dark, and the swearing in it's quite bad. Yeah, stuff like this goes on. I mean, Jesus. But yeah, it's really funny. It's by Dark Horse Comics, and they're quite good. And next up, I've got Our Marines, and this reminds me a lot of Halo, just because they look kind of like the characters of Halo. And this is issue 1, which is quite a cool cover. Issue 2, where they're fighting a shark, and that is a very cool cover. Issue 3, I think, is probably like one of the worst covers. And issue 4, I really like this, because this guy reminds me of Luke Cage. Up next is a kind of dark comic, but you wouldn't be able to tell it from the cover. And this is Stormwatch issue 1, and this is the first comic book I ever read. I've read it, I think, twice, and it's okay. It's definitely not the best I've read, but it's definitely not the worst. Up next is a comic book that you've all heard of, and this is The Walking Dead, and this is issue 142, and this one's okay. I think if I get a different Walking Dead comic, it would be better. And I really like the game The Walking Dead, and I would love to meet one of the creators of this, and that is, it says up here, Mr. Charlie Adlard, and he created The Walking Dead, and I'd really like to get like a comic book signed by him, because he lives really close to where I live, and I haven't met him yet, so yeah. Up next, by IDW Comics, it is Star Trek Assignment Earth, and I think this cover's really cool, and I'm going to be honest, I do not like Star Trek, but I will probably read this. It's got a cool cover. Yeah, so I still need to read this. I think I'm going to give it a try. But so guys, that was my comic book collection, and I want to know, in the poll this week, do you read comic books? And it's just going to be a simple yes or no answer, and I want to know. Of course I'm going to click yes. So, yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've been Luke from RetroRevival. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all later. Bye.